A couple of months ago, there was an article in the New York Times that struck me. It was about the fact that many countries in the global south are unwilling to join the US in its sanctions of Russia. I think what most struck me is the surprise tone of the article. I think that the West is surprised again and again by how other countries in the global south view it. It's as though people in the West and the readers of the New York Times did not internalize what they read in their history book. They, um, they do not understand that 300 years of colonization of India leave a mark, or that the century of humiliation of China is part of the national narrative, or deeply understand what colonialism has meant to Africa, or what regime changes that the US ordered all over South America mean for the self perceptions of the people there. There's also a perception of universality and naturalness in the ideologies of the West. For example, liberalism. Um, the West is surprised that China did not take on liberalism, as though a civilization of 5,000 years doesn't have any other political or ideological sources in all its history and has to rely necessarily on the thinking of a couple of political philosophers from the 17th and 18th century. For example, China doesn't have to be proud about liberalism. It could be proud about its civilization, both in the past and in the present. It can connect its huge infrastructure projects that it did 2,000 years ago, connecting its canals to its current Maglev railroad project that is going to connect the whole of China. It can take things from the past and take things from communism at the same time. It doesn't have to be stuck at John Locke. Indeed, is liberalism the wave of the future? A political ideology based on eternal principles, on constitutions that were written more than 200 years ago, on a conception of man with no input from anthropology, sociology, or even history. A political philosophy that believes that human beings are wholly autonomous and that they make their own preferences by their own, with no socializations from families, from schools, from culture. Is this really a plausible political ideology? I think one can fruitfully ask if the West was ever committed to liberalism. Yes, the narrative is that we didn't recognize that black people and women were human beings, and then we did. But what about Palestinians today? Are they human beings? I think that the West in general is viewed, and the ideologies of the West are viewed as hypocritical. When it's good for the elite, the West supports free trade. When China becomes strong in manufacturing, suddenly it's protectionism. You may find what I say hard to accept. We all grew up with a great love of the West, with a kind of Western supremacy, even those of us not from the West. And who is this YouTuber trying to persuade you that Western values are no longer valid? But it doesn't matter who I am. What's important is the South's plan. The Global South is busy organizing new institutions that will replace the old hegemony of the West. Instead of the IMF and the World Bank, we have the New Development Bank and the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. And instead of the infrastructure offered by the West, we have the Belt and Road Initiative. And there's a de-dollarization process underway between Saudi Arabia and other countries around the world. The world is busy right now creating a new world.